Hey everybody, this is Van, and I welcome you to the MOC Spotlight, where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be covering Blattarax, created and posted on our message boards by username Luigi1456andrew. A little bit of a mouthful there, but before we get started, as always, I am obligated to remind you guys about my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the MOC, the build of the MOC itself, and the concept and ideas behind the MOC's creation. Each quality will mount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode, and please remember that this is all based on my opinion. So let's get this started. Holy mother of Barney, this MOC is purple. I'm already impressed just by the fact that this guy managed to acquire so many purple parts and incorporated them into this MOC as a dominant color. It's just insanity. Anywho, at first glance, this MOC looks really intriguing. It's a really tall humanoid figure with many bug-like features like the hair follicle thingies sticking out of the back, the detailing on the face, the incredibly thin appearance, and the inclusion of this extra set of arms dangling around the thing's midsection. It reminds me of like some sort of mutated fly monster that ate its own wings out of rage. Overall, I think it looks really cool. I am really digging the thin design and coloration. It's got a great looking silhouette, and I really like the intricacy of its face. Pretty inspiring. But upon further inspection, there are a few cons that do stick out to me a good bit. The first thing is that these knee pads are a different hue of purple than the rest of the MOC, and it kind of clashes with the color scheme, especially since there isn't any balance between the two purples. There's like only 4 pieces on the MOC in this color, and they're distributed pretty randomly. And this occurs again with another shade of purple, which you can see just a little bit further up on the legs. Now we see a random light purple that's nowhere to be seen on the rest of the MOC. It doesn't make the MOC look terrible or anything, but you still gotta wonder, why even bother with this in the first place? Another criticism I have for this MOC is that it comes off looking a bit rough in the upper part of the MOC. There's the awkward shaping of the forearms, the gappiness of the biceps, and this strange amalgamation of parts thrown into the torso that makes it look a little messy and incomprehensible. Like, I'm not 100% sure what the heck's going on here, but there's a bunch of big purple bubbles mixed with spikes and or teeth and or giant hair follicles all over the place. All of this gives me the impression that this is a work in progress rather than a finished creation, like it could use a bit of cleaning up. You know, it's just way too busy. Now, as far as the build goes, it's honestly a bit of a similar story. The upper portion of this MOC seems to be built pretty well, all nice and solidified with a bit of articulation in all 4 arms, and the neck and the jaw. Neat stuff. But again, looks like with a bit of cleaning up, this could not only look better, but also probably function a bit better too. Because as it stands right now, the MOC looks a bit too cumbersome to allow for a wider range of movement. And according to the builder, it's also too top-heavy to pose it with ease. And to clarify, I mean that the builder said himself that it was kind of a struggle to get this MOC standing up just to take a couple of pictures. Meaning this creation is pretty far from stable. This probably could have been avoided by shaving a little off the top, if you catch my drift. And no, I don't mean literally shaving your MOC like you work at some barber shop. Like, who the heck are you, Ice Cube? But no, I mean, just get rid of some of the cluttered portions on the torso to allow for better balancing. And another solution would of course involve refining the legs a little bit, because as it stands right now, get it? It stands. It can barely stand on these weak, scrawny legs. Maybe if the feet had a little bit more support towards the back, then that could help. I actually had a similar problem myself with a big creation I made recently, and that's actually what I did to solve it. I kind of gave it some heels. I added some support to the back of its feet to hopefully prevent it from falling backwards all the time, and that's exactly what happened. It worked. And you know what? I think a similar solution could work for this MOC too. But don't take that like too literally and end up giving your MOC like stilettos. I just mean heels, like normal heels, like a normal foot should have. Aside from all that though, the build's pretty okay. It's definitely intuitive, you know, very far from what I would call a basic build, but much like the appearance, just needs a little bit of polishing. Now, conceptually, this MOC has quite a good bit of ambition, and I like that ambition, you know? The ambition to create a huge, cool, bug-like thing while primarily utilizing a fairly rare color like purple. Unfortunately, the problem with this MOC is that it looks as though the builder tried too hard to make it look cool, you know, by adding all of these big clunky details like the bubbles and the spikes and all this other unnecessary bulk that the upper torso consists of. It's either that or he tried really hard to use every single purple piece at his disposal, because that's another impression I get from it, you know, just cram everything in there. Or it could have been both factors that went into its creation. Either way, I can totally appreciate the fact that the builder had a bunch of ideas he wanted to incorporate into his creation. You know, it's nice to let your creativity run wild and all. I'm all for that. But in this case, it probably would have benefited the creation a little bit more if the builder focused less on all the wild aesthetics and just toned everything down a bit, you know? Take a few steps back and go at a more steady pace so that you don't miss important factors like the MOC's structural integrity. Despite all this, I still think this is probably one of the best usages of purple parts I've seen in a while. I definitely give it that, but it still needs a good bit of work. So with that said, I'm also out of pictures to show off, so let's go ahead and start wrapping this up, shall we? In terms of appearance, this MOC receives a 4 out of 5. It's definitely an interesting looking MOC, and a unique one at that. It's got a cool, distinctive appearance overall, but it also looks really rough and busy, and I feel that it could use a bit of work and rethinking to make it look a little bit better. Actually, no, much better. In terms of the build, this MOC receives a 3 out of 5. It's kind of surprising that this MOC can stand at all. The top heaviness is definitely a big problem that, literally big, that not only can affect stability, but functionality as well. I will say though, it's put together well enough that I can say it's quite intuitive, but also looks a little bit incomplete. And in terms of the concept, this MOC receives a 3.5 out of 5. It's a big, purple, humanoid bug thing that has some pretty neat qualities that push it up a good bit in the creativity meter, but it also has a fair share of bad ones consisting of unnecessary, cluttered aesthetics and an unstable construction. So, now, we are left with a final score of a 10.5 out of 15. It's not a bad MOC, but it's also got the potential to be really good. Like, really good. Right now, it looks like it's almost there, but the thing is, it should look like it's there already. The problems with this MOC are seriously holding it down a good bit. But hey, with a bit of attention to the proper places and a good bit of persistence, this could really be a really cool creation. And I have faith in you, Luigi1456andrew. Great job for doing what you've done so far, for gathering together all these purple parts from wherever you did, and for making it onto the spotlight. You did pretty good. I do hope to see more out of you. And of course, the rest of you viewers, if you haven't posted your own creation to our message boards already, then you should go ahead and get to it. You can find the boards at board.ttvpodcast.com. Sign up, log in, and post your toast in the LEGO Creations category for a chance to be featured on the MOC Spotlight in the future. Until then, I'll see you all next time.